Welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to explain a movie called Ice Age 2: The Meltdown. Scrat, a saber-toothed squirrel, climbs a giant ice wall in the film. His tongue is stuck to the wall, and he struggles to free himself. Once free, he finds an acorn stuck in the ice wall and pulls it out. Out of nowhere, the ice cracks, and water gushes out. Scrat tries to conceal the leakages, but he ends up swallowing a lot of water and floats around like a water balloon. He falls from the top of the ice wall onto an ice slide. In the next scene, a large valley surrounded by a vast ice wall is revealed. There are several mammals in the valley. Sid, a ground sloth, is seen playing with the children as he has started a daycare camp. The children taunt Sid as Manny, a lonely mammoth, and Diego, a saber-toothed cat, arrive. Manny pulls Sid out of a hole the children buried him in and tells him that he is not qualified to run a daycare camp. Sid is offended by his words and wants to prove himself. Sid tells them he wants to be respected and walks away. In the meantime, Manny tells the children a story about a happy family. The children enjoy the story but complain that the ending is not satisfying enough. As Manny argues with them, one of the children asks about Manny's family, upsetting him. Manny has lost his family and believes he is the only one of his kind left. Diego senses Manny's change in mood and chases them away. As they walk away, Manny learns that Fast Tony, a giant armadillo, is scaring the children with news about the melting ice wall protecting the valley. Manny tells him to stop his conspiracies and that the ice wall can't melt since it has been standing for 1,000 years. The other mammals argue with Manny about the possibility of the extinction of mammals. Manny is also confronted about being the last of his kind, but he doesn't believe it. Suddenly, Sid is at the top of the ice wall, intending to slide down a waterfall to prove himself. Manny and Diego tell him not to, but Sid insists. Before he jumps, Manny catches him, and they discover that Flash Tony is right. They realize that the ice wall is a dam barely preventing a massive reservoir that could flood and sink the valley if it fails. The trio tries to warn the mammals about the flood, but they mock him instead since he initially debunked Flash Tony's story. However, when a lone vulture confirms Manny's warnings, the mammals panic. The vulture explains that there is a boat that may save them all. He warns that they only have 3 days to reach the boat, or they will die. Not long after, a massive chunk of ice breaks off from the top of the wall, and the mammals begin an immediate evacuation. As the mammals evaluate, Manny notices a strange ice chunk, but before he can investigate, Sid calls him away. The ice chunk melts, revealing 2 strange-looking reptiles, Cretaceous, a fish lizard, and Maelstrom, frozen in the ice. The reptiles want to eat all the mammals they can get during the flood. During the evacuation, Scrat continues to chase after the acorn, failing at every attempt to catch it. As the squirrel becomes frustrated, another large chunk of ice falls from the dam. The mammals begin their 3-day journey to the end of the valley, where they hope to find the boats. On the trip, Manny struggles to accept that he is the last of his kind. Soon, they reach a dry land where Diego and Sid are taunted by 2 mischievous possums, Crash and Eddie. When Manny is alone, Ellie, a female mammoth who believes she is an opossum, crashes from a tree into Manny. Manny cannot believe his eyes as he is thrilled to know he is not the last of his kind. Manny tries to convince Ellie that she is a mammoth. Still, she insists that she is an opossum and that the 2 possums are her adopted brothers. Diego and Sid are surprised to see another mammoth, and Sid invites them to tag along as they escape the flood. Ellie accepts, thinking the trio can keep her and her brothers safe in the open. Manny is frustrated with Ellie's delusion that she is an opossum. She acts like her adopted brothers during the walk, annoying Manny. As the group walks over a large ice cap, Maelstrom and Cretaceous attack from beneath the enormous ice mass, terrifying the group. They start to panic and run for their lives. During the attack, Sid discovers Diego suffers from severe hydrophobia when he freezes on the spot. After they cross the pond, Sid offers to teach Diego how to swim. Elsewhere, Scrat continues to chase his acorn and falls into a pool of piranhas. The piranhas attack him, and the squirrel runs for his life, although he doesn't leave his acorn behind. Scrat fights off the piranhas, but his acorn is stolen by a vulture, upsetting him. The possums continue their mischievousness, and the group soon discovers an area where Ellie was found and adopted by Crash and Eddie's mother on their way. Ellie reveals that she got lost from her biological family and never found them. In a flashback, a young Ellie is alone in the snow, looking for her parents. She finds shelter in a tree covered in snow, where she finds Crash and Eddie. At that moment, Ellie finally realizes she is a mammoth. She also realizes that she looks completely different from other possums. Manny is relieved that she has come to her senses. Manny and Ellie spend the rest of the evening talking and getting to know each other. Elsewhere, Sid shows Diego how to swim and tells him to conquer his fear of water. Diego denies that he is afraid of water and dismisses Sid's teachings. Scrat ends up climbing the vulture's nest to take back his acorn. He's attacked by the baby vulture but fights back until the mother vulture returns. Scrat is outmatched and thrown out of the nest, leaving him frustrated again. As Manny and Ellie continue to spend time together, he falls in love with her. In their bonding moment, he tells her they have a chance to save their species, not knowing how to adequately express his feelings toward her. Ellie thinks that Manny is hitting on her and becomes furious. Manny explains that is different from what he meant as she has confused his intentions. Ellie fumes at him and says he will not have his way with her, leaving Manny disappointed. That night, Ellie and the possums lead the group to continue their journey since they can travel at night. Manny is hesitant, but due to the situation's urgency, he and the rest of the group agree. They continue their journey to the boat, and Manny tries to apologize to Ellie. She doesn't listen to him and asks him to stay away from her. Suddenly, the group encounters a dangerous situation as they try to cross a rock. The ground cracks under their feet, causing them to panic. The group almost dies until Manny and Ellie reconcile and use their combined strength to rescue the group. Ellie and Manny save Diego from falling to his death. After the incident, Ellie begins to reciprocate Manny's feelings. After a long, exhaustive day, the group decides to rest for the night, but as they sleep, the vulture from earlier spies on them. As they sleep, Sid is kidnapped by a tribe of mini-sloths. The mini-sloths bow to him as they believe Sid is the god of fire. Sid believes that he has finally found respect. Sid lights a fire for them, and they cheer him. They celebrate him, but Sid discovers they plan to sacrifice him by tossing him into a volcano. The mini-sloths believe throwing him into the fire will stop the flood. Sid begins to panic and narrowly escapes. The following day, Sid tells the others about his experience, but they all dismiss it as a dream. They continue their walk and unintentionally enter a path paraded by vultures. The vultures harass them, but they escape by a hair's breadth. Shortly after, the group finds the boat, but it is behind a field of hot geysers. The two mammoths argue about the way to go. As they cross, the geysers separate Manny, Sid, and Diego from Ellie, Crash, and Eddie. In the meantime, the ice dam fails, and a flood sinks the valley. Ellie, Crash, and Eddie get trapped inside a cave due to falling rocks. They panic, but Crash and Eddie escape through a small hole and warn Manny, who rushes back to save her. Crash and Eddie are pulled by the current, and Sid tries to save them. He hits his head on an ice block, leaving him unconscious and forcing Diego to overcome his hydrophobia to save Sid and the possums. In the water, Cretaceous and Maelstrom ambush Manny. Still, he kills them by tricking them into dislodging a boulder, allowing Manny to save Ellie from drowning at the same time. The group reunites atop a boulder, but the water starts rising, and they panic. Meanwhile, Scrat climbs the ice wall and unintentionally creates a long crack with his acorn. The break splits the wall, allowing the floodwaters to drain. In the process, Scrat Falls gets washed away. Shortly after, the mini-sloth tribe shows up to ask Sid to join them, but Diego declines the offer on Sid's behalf, telling them they need him more. Out of the blue, other mammoths arrive at the scene, proving that mammoths are not extinct. Manny is thrilled. Manny initially lets Ellie go with the mammoth herd and doesn't confess his feelings for her. However, Diego and Sid encourage him to go after her and properly express himself. Manny gives it a thought and chases after Ellie. He confesses his feelings for her and tells her he wants them to be together. Ellie accepts, and the other mammoths cheer. The group then decides to embark on another adventure together as Manny's happy family. Elsewhere, Scrat has a near-death experience and finds himself in a heaven full of acorns. As he reaches for one gigantic acorn, he is sucked back to reality, discovering that Sid has resuscitated him through CPR. Scrat becomes enraged, thinking Sid stole his acorn. He viciously attacks him with kung fu moves. That was all from the video. Subscribe to this channel for more content like this.